Let me walk in the path which my Savior has trod. Let me follow so close by his side. For by trusting in him I am happy and free in the fold of his love. Let me hide in his love. Let me hide in his love. Let me hide. For by trusting in him I am happy and free in the fold of his love. Let me hide. Let my heart e'er be fixed on my treasures above. Let the pleasures of earth fade away. For there's nothing so lovely as Jesus to me. Let me ne'er from his love go astray. In his love, let me hide. In his love, let me hide. For by trusting in him I am happy and free in the fold of his love. Let me hide. Do you ask why I love him, the dearest of all? Why so freely I yield unto him? 'Tis because he has loved me and died on the cross, my poor soul lost in sin to redeem. In his love, let me hide. In his love, let me hide. For by trusting in him, I am happy and free in the fold of his love. Let me hide. It is blessed to serve him and do his good will, for so precious to me is his love. Let my talents and time all be given to him till he calls me to meet him above. In his love, let me hide. In his love, let me hide. For by trusting in him, I am happy and free in the fold of his love. Let me hide. It is blessed to serve him and do his good will, for so precious to me is his love. Let my talents and time all be given to him till he calls me to meet him above. In his love, let me hide. In his love, let me hide. For by trusting in him, I am happy and free in the fold of his love. Let me hide. 168. 168. I once was in bondage in Egypt's dark night, but Jesus has brought me out into the light. He banished my sins and have made my heart cry. I'll never go back, I'll never go back, I'll never go back to the bondage of sin. I'll never go back to the place I was in. A crown of rejoicing I'm striving to win. I'll never go back again. From sin and its fall follies I knew I must part if Jesus were ever to reign in my heart. So turning from evil, I hasten to start. I'll never go back, I'll never go back, I'll never go back to the world and its ways, his pride and his fashions, nor seek for his praise. I'll give to my Savior my strength and my days. I'll never go back again. From Babel confusion most gladly I fled and came to the heights of fair Zion instead. I'm feasting this moment on heavenly bread. I'll never go back, I'll never go back. The beast and his image, his mark and his name, my love or allegiance no longer can claim. Though men may exalt them to honor and fame, I'll never go back again. The church that was built when the Pentecost came, kept in one faith and one name, shall shine on resplendent forever the same. I'll never go back, I'll never go back, I'll never go back to division and strife, where hatred and envy and malice are rife. I'll walk in the truth all the days of my life. I'll never go back again. 490. 490. I don't know this one. Brother Robert? 490.
Be alone with God, alone with God, the world forbidden, alone with God, oh safe retreat, alone with God, and in him hidden, to hold with him, communion sweet. What though the clouds have gathered o'er me? What though I pass beneath the rod? God's perfect will there lies before me, when I am thus alone with God, alone with God, the world forbidden, alone with God. Oh, blessed retreat, alone with God, and in him hidden, to hold with him, communion sweet. 'Tis there I find new strength for duty, as o'er the sands of time I plod. I see the King in all his beauty, while resting there alone with God, alone with God, unbound, forbidden, alone with God. Oh, blessed retreat, alone with God, and in him hidden, to dwell with him, communion sweet. And when I see the moment nearing, when I shall sleep beneath the sod, when time for me is disappearing, I want to be alone with
alone with God, and in Him hid, and to hold with Him communion sweet. Number 79. 7-9. Where'er my Savior's hand may lead, whate'er my lot may be, I will not murmur or repine. I'll know 'tis well with me. Though storms sweep o'er my trembling bark, and waves around me swell, still this my ransomed soul shall sing. 'Tis well with me, 'tis well, since Jesus shed His precious blood, that I might ransom thee. I know He'll safely keep my soul, whate'er befalleth me. Though storms sweep o'er my trembling bark, and waves around me
glad you're here. We know this is one of those sleepy afternoons, so try to keep your eyes awake when the preacher gets up here. I have trouble too, so it's common to man. So anyway, we thank the Lord for your presence here. We thank the Lord again for a wonderful, pleasant afternoon. Isn't this wonderful weather? Thank the Lord for that. And you know, I think the Lord gave it to us, gave it to the saints. I really do. But you know what I was thinking about is when the saints are blessed, the people that are around them are blessed as well. And so this is not only a blessing and a benefit to us, but I believe it's a blessing and a benefit to everybody in the Neosho area. So we thank the Lord for that. We're going to take time to pray. We'll start with thanksgiving and unspoken burdens as well. Any requests for lost souls? Let's pray for them. Any requests at this time? Do we have mic runners this time? Okay, speak loudly then, if you will.
I think the Lord has helped us numerous times, and right now I have a prayer request for my aunt. My daddy has a sister. She had a brain infection when she was 5 years old, and her brain stopped developing since then, so she was in my family for her whole life. She's 84 now and has multiple health I'm requesting
In shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet, God leads his dear children along. Where the water's cool flow bathes the weary one's feet, God leads his dear children along. Some through the waters, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Sometimes on the mount where the sun shines so bright, God leads his dear children along. Sometimes in the valley in darkest of night, God leads his dear children along. Some through the waters, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Though sorrows befall us and Satan oppose, God leads his dear children along. Through grace we can conquer, defeat all our foes. God leads his dear children along. Some through the waters, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Away from the mire and away from the clay, God leads his dear children along. Away up in glory, eternity's day, God leads his dear children along. Some through the waters, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. I'm sorry, I have a second song. My daddy was supposed to assist me, but I'm going to just go ahead and try it by myself. It's Lord Bless. Jesus, thank you for each day that you brought me through. Without your love, I don't know what I'd do. And thank you for each breath of life, each miracle from you. And thanks for taking time for me when I need someone to talk to. When I need someone to talk to. Anytime I need a friend, I can pray to you, my Jesus. Then I feel all right again. Sometimes I feel so all alone, I don't know what to do. When loneliness is much too hard to bear. When hope is gone, no one's around, my heart would break in two. Lord, I know you're always there when I need someone to talk to. When I need someone to talk to. Anytime I need a friend, I can pray to you, my Jesus. Then I feel all right again. When I need someone to talk to. Anytime I need a friend, I can pray to you, my Jesus. Then I feel all right again.
Any other special song?
Afternoon. My name's Eric Doolittle. I'm from the Laranger Congregation. Have a little burden that I would like to share with you all today. One that the Lord had put on my heart, partly because I think in our world today, oftentimes we question things. And as we question things, we want to know why. Why do we do something? What's the right thing to do? And I think questioning is good. We heard of, I think it's the Bereans that said during their searching of the scriptures, they would study to see if it was so what was said. So I want us to consider something here. Let me pull up my notes just to make sure I've got everything ready. I want to talk to us this morning about dress. Dress is one of those things that we can get into the why. Why do we do certain things? And we can do justifications. So, the thing that I've been taught my whole life was long sleeve shirts. Well, why? Why a long sleeve shirt? What's long? Define long. If I have a little t-shirt on with a little 3-inch sleeve, if I say how long is the sleeve, you're going to say it's 3 inches long. So it's long, right? It's long. So I wanted to think this morning of a different way of looking at dress. Because we have to understand why we get dressed before we can understand why we're supposed to dress certain ways. So I want to start off in Numbers chapter 15, starting in verse 37. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the border of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them. And that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a-whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your God. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God. So here, the Lord put a condition on dress for the Israelites. What was that condition? The condition that he put on them for dress was to what? Just to cover ourselves up in the morning? No, there was more to it. When we go to get dressed in the morning, we should be dressing ourselves in a way that reminds us that we're holy Christians. That we're putting on our clothes to go out into the world and present Christ to the world. I want to ask each of us this question this morning. When you got up and you put on your clothes, did you think about that? Did you take an honest moment of your day and said, I'm going to be getting dressed, and I need to dress appropriately to remind myself first and foremost of all, to remind myself that I'm holy and separated before the Lord. Because I think this is where we start getting confused on dress. We get into the long sleeve, short sleeve. The is this or is this not right? Does it remind you of the holiness of the Lord? Whatever that object is. Does it remind you of, it said, all of his commandments? Are we dressing ourselves in the morning when we put our clothes on? Do we consider that we are to dress ourselves to look like righteous, holy people? Have any of y'all seen a Catholic priest walking around? They have a certain garment they wear, don't they? They wouldn't be in their office without that garment. What type of garment is that? It's a long, generally if it's the robes, it's a long flowing robe, it's fully covered. If you ever see a nun wearing her habit, it's a long gown again. Why is it that the world can dress this way when they want to call people's attention to God, but oftentimes we struggle? This is the thing that I want us to consider, that there's things we should consider as we dress ourselves that we remind people and ourselves of God's commandments. It also said there that we're not to follow after our own heart, our own eyes, and that we're to be holy to God. So keeping that thought in mind, I would like to move on over to Colossians. Colossians chapter 3, starting in verse 8. But now ye also put off all of these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and in all. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye. And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to the which also ye are called in one body, and be ye thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. Now that's a lot of reading. It's a lot of things we're supposed to put off and a lot of things we're supposed to put on. Now this is referring to spiritual dress, if you will, for your soul. But I want us to consider something. You're to put off anger, wrath, malice. Have you ever seen folks in the world dress in a way that's rebellious? That they dress in a way to thumb their nose at authority? There's people that they dress in a way to show their anger. We hear with some of the students a lot of times it's been in the school shootings that when you talk to the other students, well, he dressed a certain way. He wore long black trench coats. When you get dressed in the morning, are you making sure that when you're dressing, you're not dressing in a way that's presenting anger, that's presenting malice, that you're putting on what you really should put on? Because we can wear clothes that everybody else wears so we fit in with the group. But what is that group presenting? What is it that they wear, and why are we wearing it? Because what are we supposed to put on? Bowels of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. Does that sound like we should be dressing in a way to flaunt ourselves? To show off? To dress in a way that says, I'm going to show people how big my muscles are? We can dress that way if we're not careful, but it's not beneficial to the Lord. It said there to do all things unto the Lord. Whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus. When we dress in the morning, when you put on your clothes and you're standing there in the closet or wherever and you look at that mirror before you walk out for the day, do you stop and ask yourself, is the way I'm dressed, does it say anything about Christ? Is it showing anything about Christ? Or do I just look like somebody else in the world? You know, the ribbon of blue, if you ever saw pictures of what the Israelites talk about, it was a tassel looked to be about 18 inches long that hung on the corners of the garments. If you were to wear those nowadays, you would definitely stand out in a crowd. You're going to be walking around these things swishing and swinging around you. But the Lord wanted his people to stand out in the crowd. First and foremost, not for the crowd's sake, but for ours. He wanted us to remember we're called to be a special people. We're called to dress accordingly, and our dress is to remind us of how we live before him. So when you get dressed in the morning, are you remembering that you live before him? I would like to move on over to Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 17. This I say therefore and testify in the Lord, that ye henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk in the vanity of their mind, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart, who being past feeling have given themselves over unto lasciviousness to work all uncleanness with greediness. But ye have not so learned Christ, if so be that ye have heard him and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Jesus, that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. And ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. So once again, we're told in these scriptures we are to put off the old and to put off the new. And the new man should be righteousness and holiness. And going back to the verse about the ribbon to blue, when we get dressed in the morning, do we consider that? Do we look at the holiness, the righteousness, and say, am I dressing accordingly? I can tell you, I had a conversation with a gentleman, and he asked me if I was a Guthrieite. I kind of had to pause. I'm like, well, I'm not sure. What is a Guthrieite? You got to explain to me what this is first. And he said, well, a Guthrieite is somebody that believes in wearing long sleeves and has their shirts buttoned up. I said, well, if that's the definition of a Guthrieite, I guess you can call me that, because that's the way I believe. Well, this man told me, he goes, well, I don't believe that way. Well, I told him, I said, well, I understand that. I said, believe it or not, I didn't always believe this way either. I said, I might dress properly for church, but there was a time in my life at home I dressed differently. I did. Because I didn't see it. I didn't fully understand yet. And I told him, I said, so here's what I would challenge you with. I said, just keep trying to follow the Lord. I said, give yourself about 10 years and see if you don't end up dressing like me. I said, because if you're following him, you're going to find that he's got things that he will do for you. He will show you the things you don't understand. But follow him. Looking back, I would have been better off if I would have followed without understanding and instead of waiting until I fully understood. Because now that I understand that the dress is not about a list of do's and don'ts. The dress is about presenting yourself, saying, Lord, I remember what you brought me out of. I remember what you've called me to be, and I'm going to dress appropriately. This is how I should dress. I want to move on over into 2 Corinthians chapter 6, starting in verse 14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? And what concord hath Christ with Belial? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God. As God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. Now I wanted to read this because this says we're the temple of the Lord. How many of you all would think it would be appropriate to decorate this building here up in the colors of a sports team? To say, you know, I really like the color. I'm from Louisiana, so we're going to go for this, just for this example, with yellow and gold. I'm with purple and gold LSU colors. I think this chapel would look really good if we just did it in yellow and gold LSU colors. Would that be a wise thing to do? No, it wouldn't, because do you know if you go back into the Old Testament, there is a very specific set of how to decorate the tabernacle with colors, shapes, decorations, what to embroider the cloth with. The Lord was very particular with his temple, how he wanted it to look. And if we're his temple, don't you think he's concerned and really particular about how you present yourself? And it said, touch not the unclean thing. So I want us to stop here for a moment. How many of y'all remember when the children of Israel came to Jericho, they defeated the city of Jericho, and then the next little town was called Ai. Little town. And they said, after we defeated Jericho, we're just going to take a few men and we're going to go fight against Ai. And they did, and they lost. And they didn't know what to do. And Joshua, their leader, goes and he lays down before the Lord, and he's just, Lord, what do we do? And the Lord told Joshua, stand up. Somebody has touched of the accursed thing. I told the people when they went into that town not to take any of the accursed thing. So lots were cast, and eventually this man named Achan was found. And they asked him, what was it that he had done? He had taken a goodly Babylonian garment, some silver, and some gold. But first on that list was clothes. We don't often stop to think that the Lord is particular. He didn't want the children of Israel taking the clothes from those people. They weren't right. Their clothing, even their clothing was accursed. Don't dress like them. Stay separate. It's fine, fashionable. This Achan thought it was a fashionable piece of clothing. That's a good piece of clothing. I'm going to take it. I'm going to hide it. And then when nobody's looking, I'll wear it. It ended up costing him and his family their life. It cost the lives of people that had been out there with him. So I would like to challenge us. Have you considered the impact on your lives if you allow an unclean thing? You may think that, well, this is just me. This doesn't really impact anybody else. This is just me. This is my private thing. Why are you worried about me? Did you bring it into the congregation of the saints? Did you dress this way? Nobody, from what we could tell, saw him. They had to find out who had the garment by lot, meaning the Lord was directing them down to where this man, I'd buried it in my tent. You may think that you're able to hide your dress, that you can walk one way in the assembly of the saints and a different way in private, but do you know it will come out? Because instead of dressing for the Lord each day and having your spirit ready to go forth in the day, you're dressing for a different spirit. You're dressing so that something else is going to start coming on display. And it's going to sow discord, and eventually it's going to harm you and potentially many of those around you. Because if you're taking allowance and somebody sees you as a stronger person, they're probably going to say, well, I kind of would like to do that too. And that person's doing it, so I'm going to do it. And we need to be careful that when we dress ourselves, we consider that we are to dress for the Lord. I'd like to also now look at Matthew 25 and 26. In Matthew chapter 23, verses 25 and 26. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye make clean the outside of the cup and the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. So I did want to bring these verses in. You hear a lot in our world today, especially in a lot of the secular religions, that it's what's in the heart that matters. You know, the Lord looks at the heart. Leave me alone. You can't see my heart. True, the Lord does look at the heart. But as we have here in these two verses, I could dress in a way that measures up completely and not be clean on the inside. That would be just as wrong. But the verse that stood out to me there was that second one. Because there seems to be an expectation that if I start cleaning the inside, the outside's going to get cleaned up too. So for someone to sit there and say, but you can't see what's going on in my heart, that's true, I can't. But sooner or later, I should see cleanliness showing up on the outside. We have the verses about by their fruits ye shall know them. And while people are quick to throw out the other verses about judge not lest ye be judged, I don't think it's judging something to walk up to a tree with apples on it and say, that looks like an apple tree. I mean, that's actually just a statement of fact. There's no judgment involved. But we have to be careful that we don't delude ourselves into thinking that it's just, dress is just so superficial, it doesn't matter. It mattered enough to the Lord that he asked his people way back even in the Old Testament to dress in a manner that reminded them of his word, his commandments, and that they were to put him first. Y'all pray for me.
Let us stand and have a number. What are you adorning the dock? 249. There may be someone that has a desire to pray. Opportunity for you to come forward and pray. Number 249. Are you adorning the doctrine, the glorious doctrines of God, walking so holy before him, following where he has trod? So when the world looks upon you, nothing but Christ is in you. So when the world looks upon you, nothing but Christ is in you. Are you adorning the doctrine, the gold keen attractive the way, honoring Christ by your actions and by the words that you say? Are you my brother and sister, proving the Bible is true? Are you my brother and sister, proving the Bible is true? Are you adorning the doctrine by meekness and love and goodwill, gentleness, patience, and trueness, liberty's law to fulfill? Jesus will shine it within you, showing these graces divine. Jesus will shine it within you, showing these graces divine. If you're adorning the doctrine, its beauties your soul will array. Showers of grace will be given, strength from the Lord as your day. The light from on high will be streaming over
the doctrine, the glorious doctrine of God, walking so holy before Him, following where He hath trod. So when the world looks upon you, nothing but Christ is in you. So when the world looks upon you, nothing but Christ is in you.
I was a young man, I got saved, and didn't stay that way. Wish I had, I saved himself a lot of trouble, a lot of problems. But the Lord had mercy on me in the old age. But I remember when I first met the Church of God, I was raised up around, and I've said this before, I had one grandmother that was, she was in the Methodist church. And another grandmother, my mother, she went to a Baptist church. And my grandmother and grandfather, paternal, they went to a Pentecostal church. So I was drugged here, drugged there. But none of it really affected me. I'm amazed to this day that I wasn't taken hold on by that. But I still believe there was a Jesus Christ, and I believe there was a God. But I remember when I first met the Church of God, when I went there, it's something about me that struck me so well. And I didn't get saved right then, but I went home and I told my mother in a different state, I said, I met some people, and they're different from any people I've ever seen. And I think I told her too many times. My mother died saved, by the way, but that time she was having some trouble. I think I vexed her with it, and she said, well, you think they're the only people that saved? I said, well, I didn't say that. But I was thinking, in a sense, they're the only ones I know right now. But anyway, I remember the dress, too. But it was the spirit there. And then I remember the dress as well, and I was thinking of the message that was preached last night, and I was thinking of the message today. And I think about last night, as the brother was saying, allowing people to come their way, and I thought of the message today and how well the Word of God is balanced.
Yes.
And I remember I come amongst them, and can't tell it now, but I had a lot of hair, and I dressed different, as was spoken of last night. But I remember when I did get saved, no one had to tell me to get a haircut. I went along about 2 or 3 weeks, and the Lord, I guess, told me, I said, well, I need to go get a haircut, and I got one. And I went along a little way and started looking for some clothes. But I thought, as the brother said, there's something that the Lord is going to show you that you're going to want to represent Him in everything you're doing in your clothes. I appreciate the Church of God. I appreciate this meeting. This church has been my lifeline. When I went back, and it's shameful to say, it's a reality, and I did, but I knew there was nowhere else for me to go but back home, for this is the mother of us all.
Yes.
And I thank the Lord and our Lord Jesus Christ for shedding His blood, and I thank Him for His life.
Amen. Thank the Lord.
I'm going to testify to the glory of the Lord. Pray for me, because I don't like talking in front of people. So I'm taking my glasses off so I can't see y'all too well. When I got saved, I grew up in the Church of God. Well, grew up going to Sunday services in Fresno with my grandmother. My dad was Baptist, and their dress was a lot more, for lack of a better word, exciting. When I got saved and I came back to the Saints in high school, it was easy for me to, long sleeve, that wasn't a problem for me. There was one thing that I loved to wear that I didn't want to give up, and that was a tie. And
I struggled with it. I can say I never heard it preached that we weren't supposed to wear one, but I just knew something within me was telling me that I needed to take it off, but I just didn't want to. Thinking about Brother Darrell last night, talking about the different clothes he wore. On Sunday mornings, it was a runway show for me. A 3-piece suit, matching tie and handkerchief. That's the only time of the week that I could get up so early and actually care about what I was wearing was when I was going to my dad's church. And when I came over to the Saints, I didn't have to get up that early anymore. But when I was thinking about that necktie and I was struggling with it, I finally said, Lord, I've never met a people like the Saints that had power with you like that. And they teach that these things we should put it away. So I said, I don't agree or I don't understand, Lord, but I'm going to take it off until you reveal to me what you would have for me, if I can put it back on or if I'm to leave it off. And the Lord was faithful to me. He not only told me to take it off, but he told me why that I had to take it off. He doesn't just give us a commandment and not explain to us why he's given that commandment. And a little ashamed to say, but I will tell what the Lord told me. And he said, there's pride in your heart every time you got dressed on Sunday morning and put that tie on. It's kind of if you've ever been to a missionary Baptist church, which I was, in the church, the best dress was always the deacons. And I tried to be dressed like the deacons or outdress them if I could. But the Lord showed me that there was pride in that necktie, and it brought it out every time I put it on. So I said, amen, Lord. And it does not mean that just because I put off the necktie that I didn't struggle with it still or still do. But the Lord showed that that was a key there. So I put it off, and I never put one back on, except I had to wear one for choir in high school, and I was embarrassed to be the only one in choir not wearing one, so I still wore mine to choir. It was a black shirt, black pants, black suit coat, black tie. Anyhow, finally, when it came time for graduation, they wanted me to wear a tie, and I did. We were having a graduation dinner at the Fresno Chapel, and I was trying to keep it from the Saints that I wore a tie. Well, that year, my first year at Monark too, 2014, my aunt and the congregation gave us graduates, there were 4 of us, graduation dinner. And when I walked in, at the back of the Fresno dining hall was a large orange background, and it had pictures and each student's name. The first thing I noticed was, Aunt Mary, you put me up there in a necktie? How dare you? And she said, well, I thought you were okay with it being worn, so I didn't think nothing of it. And I was so embarrassed. And as I was sitting in front of that picture, I could only think about, Lord, there's that white tie up there, and Lord, I don't wear those no more. And he made mention to me about not being willing to be the example I was supposed to be with choir and fully taking it off. And the brother mentioned about doing it at service, but sometimes at home not doing it. And the Lord convicted me, and since that day, I threw them all away. I had over 100 ties in all colors, but the Lord revealed it to me, and I'm so thankful that he revealed it to me. It's a glorious way. The standard of dress is not the standard of what my pastor teaches or what I've heard from it, but it's the standard of God. And as Brother Darrell said, that's what we're accountable to, the standard of God. And so I'm thankful for him revealing truth to me and in that fashion. And there have been other things as I go along life's way with the Lord. You don't need to wear that. Take that off. Don't even buy that. Don't look that way. I'm so thankful for the Holy Spirit's leadership.
Amen. I was thinking,
saints have always taught against all adornment. Because if we adorn our body, pride is at the bottom of it. And the scripture says God hates pride. So we have to dress plain in order to please God. And how many times, I know with my family, we go places and there'd be somebody that say, "Where do you go to church?" And so I believe we need to be very careful to follow the laws of the Lord. And pride, what scripture says, pride goeth, how's that say? Pride goeth before. Yeah, we know how that is. And so if we let pride in our heart any little way to adorn ourselves or whatever, we're apt to go down the wrong way. I mean, to suffer defeat in the long run.
Amen.
248? 248?
Say 248, off the page. Jesus on my cross had taken all to leave and follow thee. Naked, poor, despised, forsaken, thou from his my all shalt be. Perish every thought and mission, all I saw nor hoped or known, yet how rich is my condition, God and heaven are still mine own. Let the world despise and leave me, they have left my Savior to human hearts and looks deceive me. Thou art not like them, untrue, and while thou shalt smile upon me, God of wisdom, love, and my foes may hate and friends may shun me, show thy face and all is bright. Golden earthly fame and treasure, come disaster, scorn and pain, in thy service take its pleasure, with thy favor loss is gain. I have called thee Abba Father, I have stayed my heart on thee. Storms may howl and clouds may gather, all must work for good to me. Man may trouble and distress me, 'twill but drive me to thy rest. Life with trials hard may press me, and will bring me sweeter rest. Oh, 'tis not in grief to harm me, while thy love is left to me. Oh, 'twere not in joy to charm me, were that joy unmixed with thee.
This is one of those messages that you take home with you. It's self-policing. You notice that he didn't tell you, okay, everybody needs to wear this, and they need to do it like that. He just laid out the simplicity of it, that are you doing it according, what's your purpose? What is the reason that you're doing what you're doing? Is it to please the Lord? Is it to please yourself? Is it to please the people that are around you? And then once you make that determination in your mind as to what it is, then you get dressed. When you pull it out, you look at it in the closet, is this going to be pleasing to the Lord? And you know what? This is one of those messages that keeps on preaching to you every time you get dressed. And all of us have to get dressed every day. We go out into the world looks on us. And so this is one of those messages that the Lord wants us. We don't have to come to an altar and pray, but we're gonna come in our closet, and we're gonna talk about our prayer closet. And he's talking about there are gonna be some times we go in the closet, we're gonna have to pray about what we do, right? I believe this is what the Lord wants. I appreciate the spirit of the message. I appreciate the simplicity of the message. And I didn't see nobody going to sleep. Thank the Lord for that. We're going to bring our service to an end. We thank the Lord for another visitation of His Spirit. That's all. There's nothing more than someone can dismiss us with a word of prayer.